Hello everyone. Today we're going to do a little tutorial on getting EagleCad started and how to create a three-phase rectifier. So the first thing that you can do is just go to your browser here and then type in EagleCad and download. So let's see where it goes. So we can just go to kind of the first hit here and then find free download for Eagle and just download the corresponding Windows or Mac or whatever you have. The next thing you can do is you can go over here and type in SparkFun libraries and it'll take you to a GitHub webpage. This is the first hit. And what you want to do is hit this button over here, clone or download, and then download the zip. So once you download the zip, I'll download it to my desktop. You can put it into your own folder. I have a folder here under my Documents Eagle and a Libraries folder, and I will unzip this guy and throw it in here. And you can see I have my version here, SparkFun Eagle Libraries Master. You can do the same with Adafruit. Both SparkFun and Adafruit create nice libraries for everyone to use, and they're very useful. Do the same for both, and all you have to do is again go to your browser, go to Adafruit, Eagle Libraries, first hit or second hit maybe, and again do the same process. The next thing you can do is actually go to SparkFun, and you can go to Tutorials Eagle. You can see it's already on my recommended hits, and so we go here. This shows you the basics of Eagle, so if you don't like my explanation, you can always come here and read theirs. It shows you how to create a schematic and a board file, and so all the details you'd ever want to know are contained here. If you click this link way at the bottom, it'll show you how to create a board, and those are the two files you would need to actually print your circuit board. The schematic is this, where you lay out your parts in terms of your idea, and then this is where you physically, this board layer is where you physically lay out your parts and how the PCB router is going to machine it. Okay. Alright, so let's say we have all that set up. You have a separate folder with your libraries. You might also want to create another folder with your projects, and this is where your two files, your board and schematic, will live. And so, for example, I have tons of projects from previous years. Here's an inverter project, and you can see the two files, board and schematic. Don't worry about all this other stuff. That'll be auto-generated later. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to close this out and open up Eagle. And so when you're in Eagle, this is kind of the first thing you'll see, this kind of homepage, dashboard, whatever you want to call it. And you can see on the left here, you have all these things like libraries and cams and your projects. Really all you care about is libraries and projects. And so under libraries, what you want to do is make sure you use all. And so Eagle has its own library directory, and then I had my own. So how do you get Eagle to see that? You go to Options here, Directories. So Options, Directories. And if you notice, you can see separated by the semicolon, this is Eagle's own library where it just installs for the first time. And then this was my own custom directory. Okay, and so you can see users, Chang-Siu, blah, 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 right? You can do the same thing for your projects. You can use Eagle's own projects and have both that one and your own. I like to have my own just in case, I have to do a reinstall. I don't lose that folder. Okay, so you have those two. And so let's say everything's set up. What you want to do, and I've forgotten to do this, I've gotten a few times, is I have to go to use all. And here's the frustrating part about Eagle. You can't just go use all from the up here, right? That sometimes doesn't cut it. You actually have to go to the sub folders and hit use all, use all, use all. Just make sure, right? A little frustrating, but if you just remember, it's not that bad. And so here's the two Adafruit SparkFun, and I make sure I go to use all. I've actually created my own parts, and notice, see, I had use all at the top. Notice these aren't clicked as green, so I have to go and hit use all. A little bit painful, but just remember to do it, okay? That way when you go and look for the parts, it knows to look in these directories. So I think I've hit everything. Let's double check. Yep. Okay, so that's good. And then I'll make sure to use the managed ones, just everything. Okay. So now that we're in projects, what we can do is create your own file. So you can see I have my own folders, all the previous students and my own personal projects. So what I can do here is I can create a new folder. So let's call this fall or 350 Rectifier tutorial. Okay, and then so 350, and under the 350 Rectifier tutorial I can create a new project. So I'll call this the same thing, 350 Rectifier tutorial. You know, the folder and the name of the project don't always have to be the same. And then here we have schematic and board. So let's create a schematic first and then the board second. So we'll go here, schematic. And so once I have the schematic, this is where I'm going to lay out the three-phase rectifier. When I'm done with this, I'm going to sneakily go here and hit this button, and it'll ask you, do you want to create the board from the schematic? And you'll hit yes, definitely, because you want it linked. Okay, so now we have these two files. They're linked, nice. So let's begin. So we're on the schematic, and on the schematic, the window on or this tool pane on the left will have this add tool, right? And you can see that. And that add tool, we're going to click it. And if we added the libraries, it will be able to search all those parts in that library. So we're going to go over here, and for a three-phase rectifier, what are we going to need? Connectors, diodes, capacitors, right? That's it. So let's get connectors first. So if I type in SparkFun connector, let's see what pops up. So all those SparkFun parts are all here, and you can see all the different parts that SparkFun has under the connector. So let's see, let's look at connector 3 because we need the three-phase in. So this, let's see, if we just kind of click through, you can see all the different flavors, right? You can see this is a 0.1 inch spaces, your typical, like, you know, Arduino header pin spacing. We have a 5mm screw terminal, JST, very small stuff, SMD connector, surface mount. Okay, so let's say we had a 5mm screw connector, right? And so see the spacing is bigger than 0.1 inch. So I'm going to double click that, and I can put it in. Boom. So I have that. That's my schematic. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the add. Let's add some diodes, and SparkFun might actually have some diodes that are nice. So let's see, diode. Okay, so I go over here, diode. Let's see what kind of diodes. You can see all the different size diodes, right? Different lengths. You just want to make sure the diode you pick fits this value. You can see there's a scale, so this is what, maybe 10 millimeters from edge to edge. So let's try this. You can find your own. And if I right click on my mouse, you can see it rotates. And if you remember, you want to have the cathode or negative side up for a rectifier. So let's put in our 3 diodes on the top and 3 diodes on the bottom, and then the last thing we need is a capacitor. So we can just type in capacitor. Let's try Adafruit, see if they have a capacitor. Oops, misspelled. Alright, so nothing's popping up. Let's see here. Let's see if I actually added it. So if I go back to my control panel, cancel this. And let's go back to my libraries. Did I add Adafruit? I thought I did add Adafruit. Okay. Let's go back over to my schematic. And we'll hit add. Okay, Adafruit capacitor. Everything looks good. Let's just type in Adafruit. Huh, interesting. Well, let's just type in capacitor. There's tons of things. Oh, silly Adafruit. You did come up with something. Okay. Alright, so if you click through, you can see lots of different flavors of capacitor. Let's just pick this one. This seems reasonable. 5mm about. Okay. Click that, throw it in, we're done. So now that we have all the parts laid out, let's go in and connect everything. So what I can do is I can connect using this tool over here. I can connect the two ends, and every time I hit escape, it'll deactivate the tool so that I can go in with a fresh choice later. So if I hit escape, there we go. I want to connect the tops. Good. And I want to connect the bottoms. And if some of you are a little OCD, you see this, I don't like that, I want everything nice and straight, well, we can go over and hit the move tool and then select this and then move that here and move this here and move this down. Nice, much better. Nice, everything is aligned. I can even move this up. Very good. Okay, so then I got to connect these three in here, and so I can definitely take boom, boom, boom and connect them up, but it might get confusing because you see it overlap. So one thing I could do is actually use a trick, and this is something I do if I have a lot of wires. So what I'll do is I'll click the tool and just make a little tail of a wire. So I hit escape and make a tail of wire, hit escape, tail of wire, and hit escape. And then I come over here and I add, I want to add a label. So let's see, where's the label command? Label. There it is. So if I click this extra down arrow, I go up here carefully, add label. And so you can see that these are wired as N678, and I'm going to go over here and label this one and this one. And I want to connect this N$1 to N$6 and 2 to 7 and 3 to 8. So now I can go to the name command and actually edit this name. So I'm going to call this phase A, so just A. And I'll go over here and I'll say A, and it'll ask me, do you want to connect N1 to A? And I go, yes I do. So the next one is B, so double click this one with the name command, so B, and then over here I'll click C and C. And now we're done. We've created a 3-phase rectifier. We got the smoothing capacitor, the 6 diodes, our input connector. We are done with the schematic. So now we come over here, board, and if we look, we're like, where's everything? Where's all the components? Well, we have to zoom out and use your middle mouse button and scroll out, and you can see, oh, there are all the parts laid out. So I'll maximize this screen. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to drag all these components in. So let's just bring them into the window here. And I should have the 6 diodes, the 3-pin connector, and the capacitor. So now that everything's in, we're good. And now that I'm in the board side where I'm going to lay everything out, I want to make sure that this perimeter, which is the dimension 20 layer, is reasonable in size. So let's bring this down because we're not going to need that entire size. The other thing we can do is go up here and turn the grid on, and that's going to help us visualize where things are located and give us a sense of scale. So this is 50 mils. Mils means thousandths of an inch. So this is 0.05 inches or 50 mils or 50 thousandths. So we go, okay, and so each square is 50 thousandths of an inch. You can see the little squares. All right, so let's move everything into a orientation that makes sense. So we're going to come over here to the move tool, and you see with that X, that's where you want to grab to move things. So you might like click and you're like, this is frustrating, I can't find what I want. That X or that cross. And again, if I hit the right mouse button, it rotates the part. So let's put that here on the edge. Okay, and if we zoom in, we can see the capacitors, or sorry, the diodes actually have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and those correspond to these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is nice. We put it actually the schematic in the same orientation we would build it. So now come back here, and I can excuse me. I can actually go over here, hit the move command, hit that plus in the middle, and this is D1. Remember, cathode goes up. So let's look at 2. Oh, there's 2, 3, where we at? 4, 5. Oops. Come on. There we go. 5, 6. And there we go. All right, and then let's put this. I want to move it over here. And this, for those of you who have that OCD kind of mentality like I do, well, this satisfies that because you get to move everything around, rearrange, and just make everything just exactly how you want it. Okay, so here we have this. I'm going to make this centered. Just everything is looking good. The layout's good. And I'm going to add some space here. And you can see in the upper left how far. So 1200 would be 1.25 inches, right? So if I'm over here, you can see it's 750 by 25. That's where my cursor is, right? So it's 2.5 inches to the right, and then it's at this top part that is 1.25 inches. So we can get a sense of how far we're moving. Okay. So I think I'm happy with the layout. What I want to add is some terminals for those banana clips. So we come over here and we can add a via, and the via looks very small. That's not going to be helpful. So we come up to the diameter, and we're going to add 500, and that's the outer diameter, and then the inner diameter we could add something like 300. So you'll have to go and measure the banana clips you have. Don't trust 300, 500. Actually measure it. And then once you're happy with that size, you can just put 2 of them right here. And what we'll do is we'll just run the traces in. Okay, so we have banana clips, we have capacitors, 6 diodes, and the 3-pin connectors. It's great. Okay, the second and last thing we can do is add some traces. So here we have the trace. I want to be either on the bottom or top. I would like to do it on the bottom if I put all the components in from the top. And so what we're going to do here is make sure we have the right, I like that 45 degree here, ignore obstacles, and then the width. Let's make this width quite large, like let's try 100. See what happens. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Nice solid thick traces, and you can see that highlights in a brighter color where this is supposed to connect. All these yellow lines show where it wants you to connect based on your schematic. So go here, click, and then click. Boom, it's happy. And then here, if I run this through, that's not good. Now it'll short. So I can actually use these diodes as tunnels because it actually creates a bridge up and over. Actually, I might choose obstacle avoidance. Let's see what. You know what I'll do? I'll put it back. I'm going to run it through, and I'll move everything over to make sure everything fits. Okay. So I'm moving over here. Perfect. Okay. And then we'll do the next one. And I like to have everything at a 45-degree angle. All the turns, it just gives you a more aesthetic circuit board look. Okay, and then the last thing here is this to this, this to this, this to this. I'm going to turn off that sound. That is quite annoying. Okay, the next thing we have is the top. Boom here. Oops. If I don't like that, I can hit Control Z or the rip up here, and then here, and then the last is this connection right in. Just run it right in, and it'll mill it right in. It won't isolate it, and we're happy. And so this would be a functional rectifier board if we printed this one as is. Now if we want to move it, we can grab this whole thing, select everything, and I can hit this move command and right click, and it'll ask me to move group, and I'll say yes. So I wanted to move it over a bit, and then I gotta fix my outline. And let's say I don't like this outline. Let's say I was like, let's make something new. I can just delete it if I want to. So I'm gonna hit the delete the outline. Okay. And I can go in here and make my own. How would I make my own? I could go to the line tool, but instead of the bottom or top layer, I want to go to this 20 dimension. That's the outline. That's how my machine will know to create an outline. And the width, not 100 anymore. I want to put 0. So I can come in here. I like to do chamfers. You guys don't have to do this, but I like putting chamfers in just to give it a professional look. And let's see. I'm trying to get the grids all aligned. There we go. And so I have a nice outline. When I'm done, I can hit escape. And then the last thing I can put in holes, if I want to, I can put in a regular hole here, right? And you can see this one's very small. Maybe I'll try 125, which is 1/8 of an inch. So I can put a regular hole here. If I want an isolated hole, right? Because remember, this whole thing is copper plated, right? If I want to isolate, I can actually use another via and put an isolated hole. Let's see what that would look like. So if I put in 125 and maybe, I don't know, 375, let's just see what that looks like. So it looks like something like that. Maybe 375 is a little bit too big. Maybe, let's say 200. Something like that. Okay, yeah. So that's like a via, or sorry, it's a isolated hole. And so I can put one here and one here. And you can see this would be intersecting, so that would be a bad location. So we can move everything up a little bit to compensate for that hole. Something like so. Alright, so I have a mounting hole, I have banana terminals, I have a 3-pin connector. I might move this right there just to make sure everything fits, and then rearrange, but you can do that. And then we want to add some text. And text is nice because when you want to solder, you know what to connect. So let's go to the text command. Let's see, where's text? Text is over here with a T, and we're going to go and let's type in your name. So we'll call it, this is an EagleCad tutorial rectifier. And we can say we don't want it dimension 20, we want it actually not on the bottom, we want it on the top layer. And we'll put that here. Okay, and hit escape to get out. And then what we can do is we can change the properties. And I like to change it to vector. And let's change the ratio up to 15%. Let's see, something like that. Nice. The other thing we could put is your date, your name, all that other stuff. But something for a practical consideration might be the polarity of the diode. So you might put a negative sign here, and then that way when you solder, you know you put the cathode up here. But you also know, based on the rectifier, the positive end comes out here. So when you have your banana terminals, you might go again to properties and call this actually a plus. Okay, and so that way this gives you some labels on how you should orient your banana clips, or at least what to expect. You should expect positive voltage here if you have the diodes facing up, right, with the negative up here. Okay, and then the same for the bottom. At this point you have everything done, and this would be ready to print, and you look at this, oh yep, I got nice thick traces, everything is ready to go. Okay, this is your schematic and board, and then if you were to get this printed, you want to send and save these 2 files. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Alright, signing off.